Hello, my name is Jimmy. I'm a child passenger safety technician, and this is the 2023 Mercedes-Benz EQB 350. It's, Mercedes' smallest electric vehicle here in Canada. And in Canada here, it only comes with one powertrain, the EQB 350, which means it has 288 horsepower total with dual motors, front and rear. In other countries, you can get a 250, which is like a front-wheel drive, or a 300, that's a lesser all-wheel drive version. But here in Canada, we only get this single powertrain. But let me tell you everything you need to know, starting with the looks. As mentioned, this is the 2023 model, and for 2024, they've already released exactly how it's gonna look like. There are some differences up front. For example, the headlights are a little different, the grille is also a little different. But you know what? This 2023 model doesn't look too bad, but the 2024 is definitely more cohesive with the other EQ products in the lineup. On the side of the EQB here, we got these 19-inch wheels with a little bit of blue within them. They actually are a little bit different than other electrical products. It doesn't have like a giant wheel cover, which is quite unique. You do have your repeaters on the side, and the overall shape, it kind of reminds me like a small GLS. But it's exactly the same as the GLB. Proximity door locks on the front as well as on the rear doors. And then out back, it still looks like the regular GLB. The biggest change is, this LED light bar that spans across the width. I'm a sucker for LED light bars and I love that look. It doesn't have like full exhaust tips or anything like that on the bottom to make it, normal. This actually pretty spunky little electric vehicle. What's actually kind of weird and odd is, you can equip 3 rows in the EQB, just like the GLB. And in here, you get a measly 10.7 cubic feet if you have that third row up. So yeah, there's definitely not that much space behind the third row, but you can lay that flat and you got, a pretty generous size. Full-size stroller, golf bag, not a problem at all back here. There's more than enough space for all those items. However, I guess I do have to get into the third row just to show you how much space there is. But take a look at this warning sticker. It states that the third row is for people of a maximum height of 166 centimeters or 5.5 feet. Me being a 5'11", definitely not designed to be in that third row, but just because it's the internet, I do have to show you how, I'm gonna squeeze in there. So here, there is this latch I can pull and I can move this seat forward. And now I will attempt to get back there. I am not some yoga instructor and this is not easy. Okay. Yeah, so at someone that's 5'11", not designed for me, if I sit upright, my head fits like this. Terrific. And then my knees fit like this, and this is with the front seat moved all the way forward and a pretty upright position. If I move it to somewhat of a reclined, this is how much room I got. Not a lot. So if you're under 5'5", you may be okay, but definitely no more than that. But what's nice is you get USB-C ports on the side, so at least you can charge your devices. But let me get out of here because I am very uncomfortable. All right, squeezing into the second row here with it moved all the way forward. My head is above the headliner, so I'm thankful that, this panoramic sunroof is right here, because if not, I'll be like this. Definitely not the most comfortable. But of course, I can move the seat all the way back, sacrificing all legroom in that third row for something a little bit more comfortable here. And I can move my backrest as well. I can lean it decently far back. Pretty comfortable, I would say. The seats, they're pretty flat to be honest, and they really lack any thigh support. They're just, really flat in general, which is not so great for me, but it's great for kids because for child seats, that's basically what you will want. As mentioned, I am a child passenger safety technician and I wanted to put a few child seats in here just to see exactly what you can fit. On the driver's side here, this is a collect lane infant seat. There's plenty of space and the door opens decently wide, allowing me to get this infant carrier within the cabin. On the passenger side, this is a collect fifth in rear facing. I did have to move the front seat forward just a little bit, but no problem getting a person in there. And thanks to the wider door opening, it allows me to get, well, my child in here much easier. As for the third row, I was able to put forward-facing seats here. This is a collect flow on the driver's side, and this is a collect Uber on the passenger side. However, in order for them to have any sort of legroom, you do have to move the second row forward. What's nice is, well, Mercedes gives you 4 sets of lower anchors. There's 2 sets in the third row and 2 sets here in the second row, and there's 5 upper anchors in total. So basically, you can put a forward-facing seat in any of the positions. And that is if there's sufficient room for those kiddos. They should be all right, and with the amount of USB ports back here, at least they'll be able to charge their devices. But let's move up to the front. As for the front here, pretty comfortable. Headroom, legroom, both isn't a problem at all. The seats themselves, they are heated, but sadly not cooled. And this is kind of that imitation leather that they have, so definitely doesn't smell high-end in here. But you do get a leather steering wheel, and it is heated. But for a lot of people, you might not be able to find where that heated steering wheel button is because it's actually a little hidden right here on the column. Overall, though, it's simple enough to use. You got these little thumb pads here that you can kind of control your cluster or your infotainment. For some people, it's going to be superiorly frustrating, but luckily, you don't have to change too much about it as you're driving, because this cluster, like a lot of Mercedes products, is very, very customizable. From the different layouts you can change, the 3 pods that's on here, you can adjust those as well. Like, there's just so many different ways you can view the information in front of you. Honestly, I would say definitely figure that out before you get going, because it's too complicated and you're just going to be eyes down just to change that while you're driving, and that's definitely not a good idea. Luckily, you do have a heads-up display, and that does tell you your speed limit, and exactly like how much power you're consuming at that point. As for the infotainment, just as big of a screen as the cluster here. You do have Android Auto and CarPlay, but sadly, you do have to plug it in to the USB Type-C port right here in the center. The rest of it, it's pretty standard Mercedes affair. You got all the controls that you naturally would have, as well as this EQ page to tell you, well, where the power is delivering and all sorts of stuff that you may want to know because it is an EV. As for the rest of the interior, it's standard GLB. You got your vents in here that look really, really nice, and they just have that very satisfying click to them. Sure, some lower parts of the trim down here, they're a little plasticky, but you're not going to be focused down there anyways. You're going to be focused what's in front of you. And with all these big windows, view out is absolutely great. Unless you have that third row up, but then taking a look in the rear view mirror is, well, definitely a little bit blocked. All right, before I go for a drive, let's talk a little bit about the powertrain. As mentioned, this is the EQB 350, which means it's a dual motor setup. Total, you have 288 horsepower and 384 pound-feet of torque. It has a usable battery of 70.5 kilowatt hours, which means you get a range of 356 kilometers or about 220 miles. But that's just what's on paper because, well, right now, I'm at 90% battery and it's showing 376 kilometers, which is higher than if it was 100, at least on paper. So I don't exactly know what the actual range may be. Unfortunately, I just don't have the time to, well, fully deplete this battery in kind of everyday driving scenarios. But you know what? 350, 400 kilometers is more than sufficient for a lot of people, and especially here in Vancouver, that's plenty fine. In terms of charging, well, AC maximum charging is at 9.6 kilowatt, and DC fast charge is maximum at 100 kilowatts. I mean, definitely not the quickest, but honestly, for a lot of people, that should be sufficient. You know, get home, plug it in at night, and in the morning, you got enough charge to go about your day. That's really what it's designed for, rather than, well, longer journeys. If you want something like that, the GV60 with the much faster DC fast charge, well, that's going to be the key to making those long distance drives in a shorter time period. In terms of how it drives, it's an EV, right? So you expect it to be pretty quick. And it is. 0 to 100 in about 6 seconds or so. Definitely quick enough for everyday drives, and passing on the highway, definitely not a problem. Flooring it, you get that torque build and it's absolutely fine. The only kind of negative to this is because it is built on the GLB chassis, well, there are some kind of regular GLB negativity to it. Because, well, the GLB has that internal combustion engine, and that can kind of drown out any, well, noise that you may hear. This pure silent electrical drivetrain here, it doesn't. And on the highway, you hear a little bit more wind noise than I may like, and a little bit more tire noise than I may like as well. That being said, currently, this EQB in September right now, it's on winter tires. And it's been on winter tires since it's been on fleet. So that may be a cause of the additional road noise as well. And it also could be why it feels a little bit more bouncy than you may want. But honestly, I think the suspension itself, at least how it feels, it's quite planted. It's very German how it feels. And that's exactly what you want, right? I mean, most German vehicles are kind of designed to be on the Autobahn, and this definitely feels that way. It just feels planted around corners. Taking it at a slightly higher rate of speed, yeah, really no drama at all. And this doesn't have like the adaptive suspension or any of that. So it could be even better if you option that onto your EQB. In terms of the adaptive cruise control, this does have the intelligent drive package, which means it has the lane centering and the adaptive cruise. And if you throw on the signal, it can even change lanes for you. And all of those systems work really well, as you expect to, because it is a Mercedes product and you're paying, well, a decent sum for it. Speaking of decent sum, this entire vehicle will cost you a decent sum, because as equipped here, it's 85,500 Canadian dollars. A base, it's 75,700. So it's a little pricey. And if you're comparing to like products like the Audi Q4 or, well, the Genesis GV60, this surpasses both of them with ease. Now, is it worth it? That's hard to say. The Mercedes badge, let's be honest, it's definitely more prestige than the others. And because of that, it does require a little bit more money when you're going for this badge. However, as an overall vehicle, yeah, it's hard to say. Do I like it? Absolutely. It's a cute little SUV. And, well, having that third row, however small it may be, at least it has that third row. So in a crunch, well, I could potentially get 2 more people back there if I need to. And that's just not an option with the Q4 or really any other vehicles in the segment. Having 3 rows is this vehicle's party piece. And if you need potentially to get 7 people in and out of places, this may be your only choice. In any case, let me know what your thoughts are on the EQB in the comment section down below. Is this your EV of choice? Would you pick something else like this Cadillac Lyriq, Genesis GV60? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll catch you next time. Take care.